This lesson is going to look a lot like lesson 2.5 because we're solving equations. However, this time instead of just having integers, we're doing decimal numbers. So, let's see here. We have x minus, for the first example, x minus 3.84 equals 7.2. Okay? So, remember our goal for these is to isolate the variable, which means to get it by itself. So this is the side with the variable, and our constant is negative 3.84. 3.84 is being subtracted from x. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 3.84 to each side. Okay? These are opposites, so they cancel, and we're left with x equals, and then we add 7.2 and 3.84. So we can write that off to the side so you can see what we're doing. Remember, if there's ever a blank space, you fill it with a 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 8 is 10. 1 plus 7 is 8. Plus 3 is 11. And we bring that decimal straight down. So we get 11.04. And then remember to check it. You can put 11.04 in for x minus 3.84. And that should equal 7.2. And if you put it in your calculator, you can easily and quickly see that does equal 7.2. So you got the right answer. So this is our check. Number 2 says y plus 20.51 equals 26. So again, our goal is to isolate the variable. So our variable is on the left side, and our constant is 20.51, and 20.51 is getting added to y, so the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we subtract 20.51 from the left side and from the right side. Now remember, when we do that, these are opposites, so they're 0. And we get y equals, and then I'm going to put this off to the side, 26 minus 20.51. Now you can't really subtract 26 and 20.51 because you have some missing stuff. And we can't just add 2 zeros because that makes it 26,000 or 2,600, and that totally changes the value. So if you're going to add zeros after a whole number, you need to add a decimal first. So then we borrow from the 6, borrow from the 0, 10 minus 1 is 9, 9 minus 5 is 4, bring the decimal straight down, 5 minus 0 is 5, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So we get 5.49 for an answer. Let's look at number 3. W over 3.9 equals 1.2. Okay, so constants here, or I'm sorry, variables there. Constant is 3.9. W is being divided by 3.9. So we need to multiply, because multiply is the opposite, each side by 3.9. And remember, when we multiply a fraction by its denominator, it makes the denominator cancel. So we have W equals, and then off to the side, we're going to do 1.2 times 3.9. 2 times 9 is 18, carry the 1. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And then we have 2 times 3, which is 6, and 1 times 3, which is 3. And then we add 8 plus 0 is 8, 0 plus 6 is 6, 1 plus 3 is 4. And then we look here. We have 1 decimal to the right, 1 decimal to the right, which equals 2. So we know we have to move our decimal 2 places to to the left. So W equals 4.68. Next problem here, we got one more. 4 equals 1.6c. Okay, our variable is on this side and our coefficient is here. And c is being multiplied by 1.6, so we have to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide each side by the coefficient of 1.6. 1.6 divided by 1.6 is 1, so we can cancel those and we're left with just c. This here is the dividend. And this here is the divisor. So we'll do this off to the side as well. We're going to 4 divided by 1.6. Yesterday, or the other day, if it was over the weekend, we said that we can't have a decimal in the divisor. So we have to move it over one spot, which means we're multiplying it by 10. And if we multiply that by 10, we have to multiply the dividend by 10. So we have 16 now into 40 because 4 times 10 is 40. 16 goes into 40 2 times. 2 times 16 is 32. We subtract and we get 8. But remember we said we cannot have a remainder, so we have to add a 0 and a decimal. That decimal goes straight up, so we bring down the 0. 16 goes into 80 5 times. 16 times 5 is 80. So at this point, we don't have a remainder anymore. So C is 2.5. Yancey wants to buy a new snowboard that costs $396. So snowboard $396. If she earns $8.25 per hour, how long will it take her before she has earned enough money? Okay? So we know she has to work an amount of hours. We don't know how many hours. So, how many hours is what we're looking for. If we don't know it, we replace it with a variable. However, we do know that if we multiply the amount of hours she works times 8.25, we'll figure out how much money she has. So we have 8.25x. That tells us right there she makes $8.25 per hour, and we can put any number in for x and it's going to tell us a total. She wants to work until she's got $396. So we want that x to be the number that when we multiply it by 8.25, we get $396. Okay? So right now it shows that 8.25 is being multiplied by x. We want to do the opposite, so we are going to divide by 8.25. And what we do to one side, we must do to the other side. So these cancel because they equal 1, and it leaves us with just x. Now remember, our numerator is our dividend. Our denominator is our divisor. Also remember, we cannot have a decimal in the divisor, so we have to move this over 2 places. If we move that over 2 places, so we multiplied it by 100, we have to multiply this by 100. If we multiply 396 by 100, an easy way to figure this out is you just add 2 zeros. Okay? So we have 825 now into 39,600. All right? At this point, honestly, I do not care even at this point if you used a calculator to do that, because I want to see that you know that you do the opposite. And when you use a calculator to divide those two numbers, you get 48. So Yancey has to work 48 hours before she can afford to buy a snowboard. I think that's it. Remember to do the opposite.